Is it normal for love to be unconditional? Is it healthy? So, I personally love the idea of unconditional love in my fake stories, but I think that in real life it doesn't make a ton of sense, except for a very particular few edge cases. I think that the love of a parent towards their minor child should absolutely be unconditional. You chose to bring that person into the world. You chose to have them in your life. You created them. And as a result, you need to find a way to love them no matter what it is that they are doing. I see a lot of parents, especially in like estranged parent groups, talk about how like their kids treat them terribly and they did everything for their kids. They always had food. They always had a home. And like, that's the bare minimum you need to offer a child. And your kid does not have to treat you as well as you have to treat them because you have literally all of the power over their entire life. You get to decide whether they get to continue to exist in a way that is at all healthy or growth contributing for them. And so you providing for them and being better to them than they are to you, that is just what parenting is. Parenting is not equitable, right? It's not equal. Other than that, very particular small case, I don't, and like maybe for like other relatives towards minor children, right? I think like loving minor children unconditionally in a like non-gross way is the only kind of unconditional love that to me sounds at all healthy. The reason that I think unconditional love is unhealthy is not because like everything is transactional and people need to do certain things for you in order for you to love them. I think that for me, when we have love that is unconditional, that means that at some point we will have to make choices between our boundaries and caring for ourselves and loving another person. I also think that like for me, unconditional love doesn't make a ton of sense as a framework because I very much appreciate, Bell Hook's conception of what love is, which is an active thing that we do, and you don't continue to act in loving ways towards someone who is being awful to you because why would you? Like that's not healthy for you. It's not healthy for them. And Bell Hook's conception of love also looks at how loving is about holding people responsible as much as it is about making them feel good. And I think that a lot of people who talk about unconditional love talk about it in a way that can create situations where people feel like they cannot call people on things that are harmful or set their boundaries appropriately, that like no matter how bad someone is to them, they still have to show up and love them. And I don't think that makes any sense. Aside from like parents and then maybe priests, right? Like priests have to love their flock no matter how terrible those people behave. Like hopefully they're trying to help those people show up better and differently, but who knows? So I think that unconditional love is unhealthy. I think that highly super transactionalized love is also unhealthy. I think that what we need to do is look at how we can love in a way that is about, Bell Hooks talks about love as like extending oneself for the purpose of the spiritual growth of yourself or someone else. That is what love is. And it is this very active thing we must choose. It is about the things we do, not what we feel in our hearts. And I think that when we look at unconditional love as an idea, love has to be conditional because a lot of it depends on how you look at it. But the way that I hear people talk about unconditional love is that like you're there for someone no matter what, you support them no matter what. And like that's not to me what real love looks like. Real love to me is as much about saying this thing you did was totally not okay. And until you are able to make amends for that, we cannot be in each other's lives, as it is about being there for someone no matter what. So I think that love is healthiest when it has good boundaries, when it has strong senses of self, when it has people standing up for themselves and advocating for themselves as well as putting themselves out there for somebody else. And I think that in that way, unconditional love can become a problem depending on how you're thinking about it and applying it. Like different people have different ideas. And again, I love this in stories. I love this idea in stories to some extent. And I think this is also a condition that we expect people who we gender as women or woman adjacent in a way that we do not expect of people we gender as men. When we gender someone as a man, we don't expect them to put up with their partner doing whatever the hell that partner feels like, the way that we do of people who are woman gendered or woman adjacent gendered. And I think the burden of unconditional love falls predominantly on people who are classed as women or something close to woman, or who are removed from the class of men. And similarly to the way that we expect the loving of children to be done primarily by people we classify as women or who we remove from the sex class of man, or we expect the loving of relatives and keeping track of relatives' birthdays and what's going on with them as a task given to the feminized genders. And I don't think that this is a question a lot of people ask men about, like, are you loving your partner unconditionally enough? Are you there for them no matter what they need? And I think that that's frankly something that's about the way that misogyny operates within our culture. That misogyny is about the ways that people in the, the male gendered class get to receive the benefits of support and love, but are not expected to participate in the labor of those things, rather than it being something that is equitable from the start.